welcome to Your Favourite Teacher. Today we're looking at the Power and Conflict cluster of poems. Carol Ruhman's poem, Emigree, deals with issues which we are all likely to encounter with time. Memories never seem to stay the same forever. Sometimes memories grow stronger with time when we want to let them go, or conversely, memories can dwindle slowly from our minds when we want them to stay. The title of Carol Ruhman's poem refers to the type of person about whom she is writing. An immigrant is a person who has left their country of birth to settle elsewhere in the world. The spelling which Ruhman chooses to title her poem with is actually derived from the French slang term implied to be kind of an insult. Because of this, we'll see how being labelled an immigrant makes the speaker of Ruhman's poem feel out of place in their new setting and begin to long for the chance to return to the city which she can now only remember. The poem centres around the dilemma of the speaker, an immigrant in an unnamed location. The speaker is forced by war and conflict to leave her home and longs to return. Although she barely remembers her home and regrets leaving it, her memories of that former home are extremely fond and emotional. Trying to hold on to these fond memories is even more complicated for her as she soon faces the internal conflict of having to manage her own positive memories and the bad press which she soon hears about her past home. In the first stanza, the poem introduces their memory of a country as if telling a fairy tale. The words, "there was once a country," creates the impression that the speaker's voice is mimicking a fairy tale, evoking a highly positive tone in the poem's beginning. Furthermore, the use of the ellipses here creates a pause which imitates the speaker's own pausing to remember her home, enhancing the calm and pleasant atmosphere which fairy tales usually begin with. However, when the speaker states, "the worst news I received of it cannot break my original view," readers understand the importance of her home as the modal verb cannot implies the speaker's resolve to hold on to her positive memories. So far then, the power of this past place is very strong for the speaker, as still, long after she's left it, the place conjures up happy emotions for her. However, there's an inner conflict at play which the readers also pick up on. The juxtaposition of worse news that the speaker receives and the sunlight clear memory she has of it shows that Ruhman's speaker is unable to come to terms with reality. This juxtaposition between memory and reality is also emphasised when the speaker states it may be sick with tyrants, implying not only the way her home has been worsened, as it's sick, but phrasing it as the speaker doesn't care what happens, good or bad, as the word may shows she's holding on to her memory regardless. The first stanza of the poem also introduces an important motif. Sunlight imagery reoccurs throughout and is constantly associated with her past home. Typically, the sunlight is symbolic of happiness and hope, two emotions which the speaker feels towards her past, happy for her memories and hopeful that she'll return there one day. However, the final line of the first stanza complicates this image as the speaker states, "I am branded by an impression of sunlight." Again, sunlight here implies that the memory she holds is hopeful and happy, but the fact that she is branded by such a memory suggests something much more negative about her past. The verb branded creates an image of the speaker being burned and labelled, as if marked by a piece of property, similar to the way cattle and livestock might be branded by a farmer. This choice of verb by Ruhman introduces the idea that even though memories can comfort and provide us with hope, they can also be harmful and limit us, similar to the way Ruhman's speaker is labelled by others as an outsider or an émigré. The second stanza of the poem continues to use this light imagery by describing the white streets of the city which glow and comparing the city to a hollow doll, implying its tenderness and comfort. However, the juxtaposition between memory and reality is also continued as the lightness of the past is described as being distant and separate from the speaker through the metaphor, "time rolls its tanks." This image implies to readers not only that the past home has been torn apart by war, similar to the line "sick with tyrants," but also creates an image of the way that memory can sometimes harm us by associating the passage of time with a military device, the tank. By the third stanza, the poem takes a much more hopeful tone towards her home. The speaker states she has no passport, and the line, "I have no passport, there's no way back at all," comes as a bit of a shock to the reader. The bluntness of this line is emphasised by the use of the caesura in the middle of the line, as a pause after the word passport makes the fact that the émigré will never return all the more true. The readers might sympathise with the reader at this point, especially because she becomes more increasingly hopeful about returning to her home, personifying it to be a child who comes to her with her shining eyes. Sympathy for the speaker is emphasised even more as the speaker points out the way she is treated in her new home, with the poem's final lines. The speaker states, "They accuse me of absence, they accuse me of being dark." The repetition of the pronoun they evokes sympathy for the speaker, as it is used to make the other inhabitants of the city she now lives in seem like the enemy, since the word they implies that they are somehow separate from her. This same effect is created by the repetition of the word accuse, implying that she is treated unkindly because of her past, showing yet more evidence of how the memory can harm her. In the end, though, despite all of the speaker's pain, Rumens emphasises the overall positive effect which memories can have on us. Each stanza, despite all of the dark imagery, ends on the word sunlight. Furthermore, the entire poem repeats the word sunlight and other pieces of light imagery numerous times. The poem's constant return to the light might symbolise the way that memories can be hopeful. By ending on the word sunlight so many times, it seems as if Rumens wants to finish each stanza of her poem, reminding us how happy memories can make us. I'm Miss Meeks, and we've been studying power and conflict poetry.